Ladies and gentlemen of the crypto space, we're live on a Friday, July 9th at 11:31 a.m. We are here to do what we do every day, trying to make sense of all this stuff we try and interact with. We're interacting with financial systems. We're interacting with new school DeFi financial systems. They're financial systems. We know they're financial systems because they've got properties of financial systems. So, what does it all mean? How do we use these systems to the best extent possible to capitalize, to do well for ourselves and our families? And that's really what we're all trying to understand. Everyone runs around on Twitter, the inflation rate, the CPI, the Fed is going to taper, all these words, and it'll drive you mad trying to translate those words into market go up, market go down, correlation, inverse correlation between securities markets and the crypto space, the bond market and the securities markets, the bond market and the crypto space, forex markets, China, whatever country you want to mention. It's all related and it's all complicated, it's all frustrating, and most certainly it's all overwhelming. So there's a lot of thoughts that go through my mind in trying to process all that information in order to make decisions. And what I've learned over the years is the most important mental state is conviction, and it's also comfort. You have to find the capacity to be able to sit still and relax, to know that certain positions are the appropriate expression of how you view the markets. And I've had my current positions for I can't remember. It's been a while. I found some Ethereum that was locked in it was the Plasm stake drop from last year. So that's pretty cool. That's Plasm. Astra is the rebrand, and that's so I believe they have EVM compatibility at this point for as a Cosmos as a Polkadot parachain, which is awesome. A lot of folks on the stream know about it. And but point being was I found a bunch of F. So I've been buying NFTs. I grabbed a couple of extra Curve llamas. I got four, which was pretty cool from the minting process. But I bought two more. They're really cool. And you guys know how my sentiment with regard to Curve, and this article is a whole nother level. This surmises a great deal of the status and situation with regard to speculatively the future potential of the platform and where it fits in the macroeconomic landscape. And believe it or not, this DeFi software platform fits in the macroeconomic landscape. And that's really the short sightedness of legacy finance market actors. Um, in many regards, even I dismiss new technology. In the crypto space, in the DeFi space. I'm not the first. I'm never the last. I'm often somewhere in between. And but legacy finance is so dismissive of these technologies, and they're extraordinarily sophisticated and complicated. And if you look at the smart contract code, it's extremely powerful. The math is absolutely fascinating. And these systems, when they execute their functionality, are entirely analogous to structures that we encounter almost always in the legacy financial system. They're building components that do the same thing that legacy financial system components do, which is overwhelmingly substantiating that these systems are definable as components of a financial system. It's just so obvious. Maybe it's because I grew up with the concept of modeling in my mindset, where I see something and it relates comparably to something else, and you're able to understand something new modeled as something else. So these systems are entirely modeled on structures in legacy finance. So it's so obvious, at least in my mind. Um, Supercharger modeling. I'm just throwing out a random phrase. That was something I did when I was in college, and but that was my first encounter with the concept of modeling. I modeled something along the lines of the way superchargers function on vehicles, and and every time I model something in the DeFi space to a legacy financial system component, I'm reminded of that initial encounter I had with the concept of modeling. Good stuff. So, bunch of curved llamas. This stuff is awesome. I was looking at, was it Garbage Pail Kids, GPG. Those are cool new NFTs. Garbage Pail Kids. No. Yeah. GPK.market. So, I grew up with Garbage Pail Kids trading cards, and now they're NFTs. They're just as unique. They have a fixed supply. Well, actually, not a fixed supply, but a supply that's controlled just like the printing of physical paper cards. They're identical to the concept of a physical card. These are the best way to describe what an NFT is a digitally tangible asset. Clearly, those first two words are contradictory at best. Tangible is something that's physical, but digital is not physical. So, digitally tangible. So that takes a mental leap to be able to process. But that's the case. That's what it is. That's the model that you could use to understand and process the implications of what an NFT is, a digitally tangible asset. I mean, these things are awesome. That's so cool. I grew up with this stuff. I remember them as kids, and now they're making them in digital NFT form. And by the way, I do own a fucking pickle. It's literally called a fucking pickle. I'm just saying. Grab one of these. That's so much fun. Who's in the stream? Let's get this party started. We got Killis in the house. Simon, where you been, brother? Well, where have I been? Oh, you know what I do. But it's good to see you. It's always a pleasure when our paths cross. Ali, purple bow llama gang. Yeah, do I not have a purple bow? No, I got a top hat. I got a cigarette llama. I got I got sunglass llama. I got solid background llama. I don't have a bow tie. I want a bow tie llama and have to consider getting one of them. But I don't want to spend like $1,000 on a bow tie llama. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. RJ's in the house. Always a pleasure. Ron Skiponski. Howdy. Welcome. I got it right. Jan, finally up early enough. Yeah, I know. It's big world and time zone differences are crazy. I think you could talk about anything and I could just listen. Thank you, Simon. I am a verbal orator. All right. I didn't come up with an entertaining word, but that's what I do. It's just I tell stories about what's going on, what's interesting. And what's interesting is that everyone that comes on the stream is trying to understand the same stuff that we're all trying to understand. So we all share a common interest in the topics of conversation. So it's my pleasure to help you guys to process all this information and to try and make better decisions. And the title of the stream is quite interesting. Let's go over to the main screen. Western medicine versus Eastern proactiveness. Ain't that the truth? I want to hit that. I want to talk on that topic. Today's episode is sponsored by Change Angel, the non-custodial swap exchange for social goods. Stop depositing on exchanges, not your keys, not your crypto, non-custodial, DeFi, or nothing at all. Bam! Let's pop it over to the main screen and see who's in the stream. We already saw who's in the stream. So, Western medicine versus Eastern. So, Western medicine, what we do in the States here, these crazy lunatics, is if someone gets sick, they fix it. It's emergency medicine. And that's exactly the way the Fed operates. If they encounter something, they adjust to accommodate it. It's accommodative monetary policy. And it's so frustrating because we're engineers, we're software developers. Simon's one of the best software developers in the entire world. And all we think about is new, innovative ways to iterate and make things better and make new awesome things. And all we see in the legacy financial system is stagnation, lack of products and services that do us any good whatsoever. I mean, seriously, when's the last time a bank said, here's something that's you could save for your future and retire, and it's going to grow into something for yourself, your family, and your kids? Never. Banks don't do anything for you. They take your money and give you 0.05% interest, and they go out and they make 3% interest on your money selling it as a mortgage. They're making money off your money, and you're making jack squat. So that's the problem with the legacy financial system. It does absolutely nothing for you. There are no useful products and services that are even remotely appealing. The most appealing product and service that could potentially be, contribute to your financial well-being is like a REIT. You pay like Big O, Realty Income Corporation, 4.18% per year, per calendar year, and you're going to save for your future at 4.18% per year with a minus 20% in debasement gives you a real yield of minus 15%. If the cost of goods and services go up, you have to outperform that in order to be net positive. So if you have $100,000 in the bank, next year you can only buy $80,000 worth of goods and services because the cost of the goods and services went up. You can't get ahead. There's no way to get ahead. There's no products and services in the legacy financial system that help you get ahead. The only way you get ahead is by working, but literally at the end of the year, all the money you save from working is worth less. So the system is literally fighting you everywhere in order to get ahead, and that's just so frustrating. And that's exactly why I do what I do in the DeFi space, because I'm able to get ahead. I'm able to produce a revenue stream. I'm able to generate a salary. I'm able to produce cash flow. And it's not, and you guys know what I say, it's not about your principal assets, it's about cash flow. It's that 4.18% on Big O that matters because you know very well the principal value is going to fluctuate. But then, you go over to Convex Finance and you get a 9 grand a week off of your life savings, and then that's cash flow. That changes everything. That's exactly what your salary is. Well, that's obviously massively larger than a normal salary, but that's the whole point of a salary. You get weekly income, and that's how you outperform debasement. And the only way to outperform debasement is for your money to make money. And there's no products in the legacy financial system that facilitate that. You might as well turn your cash at the end of the week in the garbage pail kids or llamas because they'll hold value more than dollars or pounds or whatever currency you want to talk about because they just don't hold value. By definition, they're not money. Money, by definition, has a value storage component, and something that loses excessive value is not something that can be defined as money. What are they? Most certainly, they're currency units. That's okay. I feel that's okay to define fiat US dollars as currency units, and that's what I say on Twitter. Bitcoin Bros in the house. Leonardo, a pleasure. Alex, what article were you talking about regarding the Curve platform? Rect. Just go to rect.news/Curve Wars. Um, yeah, this is a heck of an article. Mark, a happy Friday. So Friday is Happy Currency Units Day. You may call it like payday, but what are you getting paid in? Currency units. Units of currency. So sure isn't money. Certainly not money. You're not getting paid money anymore, boys and girls. Simon with the smileys. Do you think it's possible that a curve-like ecosystem will emerge on Cardano? Yeah, but they're late, and the whole system that based on precedents that we know is based on momentum, which is network effect. So they're really late, and their system is going to be at a disadvantage. Sure, you can have a great system. It doesn't mean anything with regard to adoption. You only know if it's going to be used after it's released and it's actually used. So anything that anyone is doing right now with the Cardano platform is speculating, because you could build the most incredible system and no one uses it. 8 tracks were better than cassettes. No one used it. They were so much better than cassettes, and no one used it. Yeah, I'm probably talking old people talk from what people know, but 8 tracks were, anyway, they were really cool. Um, but yeah, they're building it on Solana. They're building it on Phantom. Avalanche has incredible tech that's coming out. but unless people use it, it doesn't matter. So everything I talk about on this stream is not speculation. I'm not interested in speculation. I'm not interested in maybes and kind of sortas. I mean, generally, obviously, underneath even my value allocation to stuff that's going on right now, there's a speculation that that stuff will continue and grow. But at least that's based on a fundamental principle of network effect. Network effect is basically translatable to the physical phenomena of momentum, physics. It has momentum. It's going to push forward. It's going to grow. It's going to scale. It's going to have more adoption. Just Google network effect, and that's exactly what plays out. So anything that's very late to the game, like Cardano, has a massive uphill battle to even achieve what DeFi thus far has achieved years ago. Like literally, Cardano is pre 2017. A lot of DeFi started in 2017. MakerDAO started in 2017, and they've been iterating since then. So DeFi is years old, and Cardano is years behind. So anything that they do is going to take years to catch up on. So you're going to have to sit in assets for a long time to hope and speculate that any sort of network effect will build. That's meaningful. Meaningful, boys and girls. Greetings, my man and coder. Simon, I want a techie llama. Dude, seriously. So NFTs are misunderstood. Um, these NFTs are called Gods Unchained. If you played Magic the Gathering or Pokemon back in the day, this is literally a card game that is completely nostalgic of Magic the Gathering. And these are unique assets. This is equivalent to a digitally tangible piece of cardboard, like a piece of paper. And you could actually play with them. And the game mechanics are just extraordinarily nostalgic of Magic the Gathering. So these are my favorite NFTs. They're just really cool because you actually play a card game with them, and it's just as I said, the game mechanic is ridiculous. It's just fun stuff. Um, digitally tangible, crazy stuff. So these llamas are awesome. That's imagine here. I'm dying to get this thing. I'm dying, but I don't want to spend 6 Ethereum on it. I mean, the bid is up to 6 Ethereum right now. This thing is so cool. This is one of the most complex, detailed NFTs I think I've ever seen. And it's raunchy and it's filled with emotion and controversy. This thing's crazy. And there's only one of them. That's the whole point of an NFT. It's verifiably mathematically unique. You cannot copy it. You cannot duplicate it mathematically. It's not technologically possible. With the hash of this produced by this author, I can prove that I'm the person who purchased this asset from the person who created it. And that's the power of the blockchain and the immutable ledger. So even if you copy the source code, it's still not the original. There is only one of the original, and right now it's going for 6 Ethereum. So that's like $15,000, $16,000. Anyway, so I'm probably going to restrain myself. I was tempted. I bought some llamas instead. Rod, I'm very happy to hold and stake CVX and Curve tokens, but I'm slightly confused about the difference between CVX CRV, V Curve, and 3 Curve tokens. Which one is best to gain revenue rights? So CVX CRV is a derivative of VECRV. CVX CRV yields 3 Curve, Curve, and CVX. VE Curve only yields 3 Curve. So CVX CRV being a derivative of VECRV is a very, very powerful derivative. To top it all off, the emissions being partly CVX, you could CVX give you revenue rights to more CVX CRV. So the whole system is a flywheel that basically generates more and more and more yield over time. It gives you more of a powerful or more of a position in governance rights. So it just grows. Basically, that's what dividends and savings accounts and yield were supposed to be, where the positions grew and gave you more ownership of circulating supply, purchasing power, and the convex platform, in my opinion, is the best opportunity in the entire DeFi space. It allows you to grow your purchasing power, um, and you know your currency units, which does the reason why it's so not so off the radar of the general public is because it's not something that is expected. A platform that allows you to grow your currency units. What are we talking about? Bonds in the 1960s or bank accounts in the 70s when it was 30% inflation rate in the economy? That was the only time we were able to grow our currency units without working. But now the platform, you get 67% on your yield. It's been like that for a while. I've seen this number very, very high. So obviously it's a variable rate depending on market conditions, but this yield just keeps coming and coming and coming, and that's something quite enjoyable. And to understand more, this is a great article that surmises the status, the history, and where the Curve platform is going with its derivative assets, uh, which are made by Yearn, Curve, and StakeDAO, and there'll be more. And the potential, really, the target is forex, foreign exchange of like valued assets. And obviously, V2 changes everything. So the future is being written, and with permissionless V2 pools, that's consistent with platform functionality that Uniswap historically had, and we know the valuation of Uniswap. So for myself, I see a lot of assets in the DeFi space. I know all of you see a lot of assets in the DeFi space, but the only one that's obvious to me that really stands out is the Convex platform. That does not mean I ever go all in, never go all in, never spread too thin. Damn right, I buy T-bills and treasuries. I buy government debt. I have securities for battery metal miners. I own physical gold and physical silver. And I own plenty of other crypto assets. So um, always be diversified. But as Buffett says, diversification is a lack of conviction. So you want concentrated bets where you see the most value. And we know we've talked about the assets that I have allocated value to. I bought Ren VMs at 6 cents before it was a chaos net. They called it chaos net. That's awesome stuff. Yellow Mellow still interested in ice? Sure. Um, they could the burn proposal. That's great. It's wonderful. So with regard to ice, if I could buy X quantity of ice and get X amount of yield on a weekly basis, that's what I want. If I could put $100,000 into ice and get $3,000 a week, then I could calculate: do I want a position? And until I can do that, I don't speculate. I'm never the first and never the last. The first is they buy ICE speculating that it's going to be a highly lucrative asset. And I don't want to be that person. I want to be the person that gets in when ICE goes to $5, $10, it's up like 500, 600%. But at least I could calculate how much revenue I'm generating on a weekly basis based on how much capital I deploy to the asset. And that's the way I handle that. Jacob, I'm playing Gods Unchained right now. Oh, it's such a fun game. Reminds me of my teenage years. Brooke, I have been in Taiwan for 18 years. The amount of Western meds we don't have here is big. Well, there's nothing wrong with emergency medicine. There's something meaningful to saving life, and that's cool. But there's something also honorable about proactive medicine, a capacity to think forward more than 5 minutes, and not just medicine to treat an emergency, but medicine to make one's life healthier, better, and stronger. And that's the same thing that's applicable to a damn economy. Everything the Fed does is reactive medicine. It's emergency medicine. There's literally at least nothing that's publicly stated that's even remotely interesting where they're talking about proactive modifications, enhancements, upgrades. Where's the technology? Me and Simon are software devs, and all we do is think about iteration and new concepts and new ways of doing things. Everything that we see in the financial system is boring, old, stagnant, and it almost always deprecated by something else. I mean, the banking apps are garbage. You gonna really buy a CD? Most people don't think about bonds because of the yield, because the yield is worthless. They're all negative real yield. But you buy bonds as a deflationary hedge because if the system implodes, bonds go through the roof because that's where people store their value, and that's an asymmetric bet, and bonds become the risk trade. It's exactly what we saw in 2020. It was a massive appreciation of bonds. Jacob, you played me the other day. That's cool. My man. I'm there. I'm playing. Give me that CVX CRV all day, all day. Oh yeah, it just rolls in. I mean, what are you going to get? Big O, Realty Income. Yeah, monthly dividends. Woo, woo! You get monthly dividends. Whoa, that's crazy. Yeah, that's about as fancy as the legacy financial system gets. Don't get me wrong. Definitely, I believe the wife has Big O, and it's cool if you want to have to work for the rest of your life, or unless maybe you have $20 million in the bank and you're in the top 0.1%. How are you going to do with 4%? It's not a salary, so it's not working for you. Then the real estate game. I'm not getting into the real estate game. What a ridiculous expenditure of time and responsibility, and then you get eminent domain, and the sovereigns just take your property. So really, crypto is the only way, as Michael Saylor says, to express property rights that are non-confiscatable. You can't confiscate crypto without physical intervention, which obviously goes against a variety of nation-state laws. You can't physically take something from someone; it's against the law. But obviously the concept of theft and violence comes into the picture. But at least there's no laws on the books regarding eminent domain. The government doesn't have a right to take something like they do with property. They have a right to take your property. They've taken gold from people. They force people to give their gold and get compensated in stupid dollar bills, pieces of paper, currency units, boys and girls. Hey Noah, would you recommend starting to grow a curve position with a low amount of capital, or try to grow my capital elsewhere and then get a curve with a larger starting amount? I mean, both are very rational thoughts. If you take your capital elsewhere, you're taking risk. There's no guarantees of appreciation of other assets. These assets are extraordinarily volatile, and you're talking about buy low, sell high methodology, which is day trading methodology, which requires a capacity to execute on technical analysis. I don't ever advocate for the ridiculous pools that get 5, 10,000%. I mean, seriously, because you're going to get 5, 10,000%, you're going to be hammered by impermanent loss, and then to top it all off, the asset doesn't appreciate, it ends up depreciating because there's too much emissions and the inflation rate and the emission schedule is too aggressive. So it's going up 5,000%, but the asset gets cut in half in a week. So I avoid stuff like that. I avoid LPs. I don't like the LP anymore. I want to own rights to the platform that allows people to LP. And that's really the best expression of be the bank. I mean, you can provide stable coins. I tell everyone that's new to the crypto space, anyone that has never touched the crypto space at all, the first thing to do is you get a hardware wallet, you get some USDC or GUSD, and you put it on Aave. That's your first experiment because it's stable coins. They're dollar-backed stable coins and regulated stable coins, where there's one-to-one dollars in a bank account. GUSD being less controversial than even USDC, albeit USDC is going public at this point. And Aave is a money market account. And if it walks like a bank and talks like a bank, it is a bank. It does the exact same functions as a bank, except you're the bank. You're putting your cash in, you're lending your money to over collateralized debt positions, and you're getting the interest. Instead of putting your money in a bank, they take your money, they sell your money instantly for T-bills, and then they're lending and they're doing whatever they're doing, and they're making money with your money. So Aave is by definition disintermediating the financial services offered by banking institutions. They are allowing you, an individual person, to exercise self-sovereign rights that traditional banking institutions take from you, and they do for themselves. Aave lets you be the bank. It changes everything. And that's the best experience for someone getting into the crypto space. To take $50, it's an experiment, and you put it in and you watch the interest. The interest is real time. There's no daily interest or monthly interest or yearly interest. You're getting interest every second of every day, and you're visually able to see it. Interest, real interest. More currency units, and that money comes from people paying interest on debt, which is basically what the legacy financial system is. So this is new. This is the innovation that I'm talking or saying that the legacy financial system is completely absent of. It's the general public said, screw the countries. They're too slow. They don't do anything. And the people said, we're going to build software that does what the legacy financial system does, but better and faster and newer. And we're going to iterate, and we're going to make protocols that benefit people, that allow people to be the bank. And that's the story that I very much enjoy to tell. Basically, DeFi is Eastern medicine compared to the Fed's Western medicine. Fed does nothing. They're reactive. They react to emergencies, whereas DeFi is iterative, proactive, creating new, interesting, exciting, lucrative technologies. And that's a big deal, boys and girls. That's a big deal. Oh, I'm missing a lot of comments. Let's try and keep up. Encoder, CVX CRV has a Polygon network because the fees are like zero. Yeah, Polygon's pretty cool. Polygon hits the India narrative, and I think good things about the India narrative. I've described that many times. Pavlon 42 in the house. Shout out to Noah. Great content. I recommend you to everyone who approaches me asking about crypto. I'm more than happy to help newer persons, intermediates, and advanced persons. That's what we're here for. Try and figure out how to navigate the system. Yellow Mellow, you should check out Axie, the NFT game. Yeah, I looked at it briefly. I don't have time to expend. I got to go back to work after this. I have some things I have to do. I got to get a Jenkins pipeline to find a branch, and it's supposed to find the branch by definition, and it's supposed to find, frankly, a pull request by definition. It's just not finding it, and it's so frustrating. Matt Chapman, are you still keen on Rook? Sure, but not from a value allocation standpoint. Matthew, selling puts on O, then selling calls against it is better than just owning O, but convex is still better. I mean, you're talking about playing around with securities markets. I just so boring. I have no interest in that stuff. It's just boring. Puts and options. I don't like futures. I don't like options. I just want an asset to work for me. I don't want to have to babysit an asset. I want to own something that pays me to own it. That's cool because that's what savings bonds and that's what cash used to be until the Fed fucked it up. Nixon did, really, when he took us off the gold standard. Hey, Noah, have you looked into the Badger CVX CRV vaults? Sure. They're basically auto compounding, and they're very well suited for long-term capital gains tax treatment. It's obviously an individual's prerogative if they want to expose to that versus convex directly. But that's going to be a big deal. And over the years, that's just going to further exacerbate convex's lead in V curve governance rights. Jan, when I provide ETH/USDT, I always look at the DCA in or out of ETH depending on the market. Yeah, I mean, I understand your perspective. I've been there myself, and I don't hold much Ethereum nor Bitcoin anymore. There's too much opportunity cost. They're not working assets. They don't produce capital for me. Whereas there's so many assets in the DeFi space that generate revenue on basically either a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. I mean, Rent VMs are still not off the radar. That's some big stuff. Still have my Rent VMs. It's not Ren, so I'm not giving you guys alpha for Ren. Ren VMs. So I denominate my Ren in terms of Ren VMs. Ren doesn't mean much. Ren gives you a capacity to have ownership or operator status of a Ren VM. It's not as lucrative as other assets, but I mean, when if you want some alpha, it's basically anyone's going to wrap CBDCs, There'll be some centralized organizations, but RenVM's a good candidate for wrapping CBDCs, and that's crazy to think about. Wow. Um, my main worry are gas fees for getting onto CVX. I have less than $1,000. I'm not sure it's worth the cost. I think what you need to do with such an account size, well, you need to get into the concept of saving. The crypto space is not free money. The crypto space is not easy money. The crypto space allows you to exercise your self sovereign rights to accumulate money without it being destroyed. You put $1,000 in a bank account, it's just going to melt like a freaking ice cube. You put $1,000 in Aave in the form of USDC or GUSD, it's going to melt like an ice cube, but less because you're actually getting yield. It's probably if you're minus if you're at minus 20% debasement and you get in 3%, it's still minus 17% real yields. So that's where the concept of the risk curve comes into play. And once you get comfortable with the bare minimum of how to expose yourself to DeFi protocols to outperform debasement, you head out on the risk curve in order to generate more yield in order to attempt to outperform debasement. It's probably about 20%, give or take. Very give or take. But the point is, if you have $1 million and you're not making 20% a year, you're losing money every year, losing value. Got 800 grand next year. You're going to watch your cash pile melt into nothing. So whether it's $1,000 or $1 million, the same thing applies. So start with dollars, start with Aave, see what it's like to save, and then you could then you go to like Convex, and you go to here look, and you go to not here. You go to the stake page. You go to Convex, you could go to Curve directly, but you avoid Curve directly because Curve requires you to have VE Curve in order to get boosts. But here, look, you get a 9% on your money on PAX. That's pretty good. That's still getting debased by about 10%. You need about 20%. But the reason the yield is dropping so much is because people are ferociously fighting for yield. It's all about yield in legacy finance. There's no yield left. The system has been drained. I'd probably avoid a lot of these. I mean, UST is obviously Terra is pretty cool. Save, there you go, 17%, projected 13, 17% school is going to drop in a little bit. But at least you're getting yield, and this is actually a good pool. Save and Aave, I like very much. Even SETH and STF is cool. SETH is backed by basically synthetics version of ETH, synthetic Ethereum. And STF is obviously the controversies associated with the synthetics platform and the Lido platform for STF. Those aside, it's an entire conversation unto themselves. MUSD, that's cool, 1492. That's a nice yield. GUSD, this is where all the awesomeness is. I love GUSD. That's my fiat on and off ramp. GUSD from Gemini is basically the most or the least controversial stablecoin in all regards. Um, Link, you can get yield on Link and S Link, which is cool, but I don't know hold any Link. And obviously the infamous first V2 curve pool, try crypto. So you got to start. And I feel comfortable saying you need to do something because if you put $1,000 in a bank account, it just goes away. It just melts like an ice cube. So play around with Aave, even for the learning experience. And then you could play around with like a convex position. Go with the Aave position, you get 12%. At least it's melting less. It's a fiduciary responsibility to protect the capital that you've worked really hard to accumulate. And at minimum, you're getting an education in these systems that the general public has built in order to unfuck the system that the Federal Reserve created. That they don't do anything to try and innovate on. There's nothing new. There's nothing interesting. There's nothing to try and help the people. So the people stepped up to try and help themselves. That's what this is. The people trying to help themselves. Let's wrap up the stream in a couple minutes, but let me try and get all the questions in. Market down, DCA into ETH. Oh, yes. Probably Bitcoin more so, but I don't know. That's your prerogative. It's everyone's prerogative what to accumulate from a dollar cost average perspective. Bitcoin is arguably a savings vehicle. Ethereum is too. It's speculative, and there's always the controversies with the assets. But I think Bitcoin and Ethereum are great savings vehicles. Heck, I think NFTs nowadays are great savings vehicles. Ultimately, anything that's not a dollar is a great savings vehicle. Buy anything that's not nailed down to the ground. That's basically the situation we're in with dollars. Minus 20%? Melting like an ice cube. Seriously. Um, Joseph, what do you think of? I already handled that. So Badger's cool. Popsicle Finance, LP pools. Eventually, I'm not buying ice right now until I know how much returns they make. Michael, debasement is instant, but we don't feel it for years. Delayed inflation, right? Kind of like that. It's also hard to wrap your head around time horizon, and it's hard to process increased price of goods and services. So a lot of trying to really understand the effects of debasement and inflation are outside the realm of split second now processing, and the human brain only works in now, and it's very hard to think from a future perspective. So if milk is going to be $8 a gallon, $10 a gallon next year, you kind of need to prepare for it now. It's the whole real concept of Western medicine versus Eastern medicine. That's a model. Do we think about now or do we prepare for the future? So I'm prepared for electrical costs going up 15% a year, and that was before the pandemic. I expect them to go up even more. So you got to prepare now. Why do you think is the minimum dollar amount that would be good as a starting position? That's not for me to tell you, my friend. I recommend experimenting, and you have to find your own process. And the whole point of what we do here is talk and educate and talk about the concepts. And I know this is very intimidating. There's a lot of information, and I come at you very hard on everyday guys with years of experience in this space, years of experience in financials, and but you get the most important thing I can tell everyone is to start. And you need to treat yourselves with respect to start to understand financial responsibilities. And that if you do nothing, and you're just getting a paycheck at the end of the week and putting in a savings account, you're doing yourself financial harm. And that's a hard thing to say. And I feel quite a great deal of empathy for the vast majority of persons because obviously 55 people on the stream, that's not a lot of people relative to the population. And people really need help out there. And I won't be able to help them all. But at least I could do is help the people that listen to me. What do you think of AF? I'm thinking about dropping my F. I do not know about it, my friend. Munition just signed up the macroeconomics course, thanks largely to you. Real vision, macroeconomics. At least understand the financial system, what these sovereigns are doing, what fiat currencies are, what the central banks do, what the IMF is planning to do. You're going to see CBDCs everywhere. And before you know it, grandma, who doesn't understand anything other than dollars, is going to be either encouraged, if not forced, to use a digital currency. And paper money doesn't exist anymore. So that's inevitable. That's literally inevitable. Timeline uncertain, but inevitable because they're going to want the control. They're going to want the capital controls to be able to know who has money, who's spending money, and where they're spending money so they could stop people from spending money if it's illegal or force people to spend money if the financial properties are needed. If they need to trigger monetary velocity with capital controls, they could say, oh, here's $2,000 in your digital bank account, spend it by the end of the month, or it goes bye bye. So that's the type of thing that these sovereign countries are going to want with their CBDCs. And this is coming very soon. It's literally exactly what the IMF was talking about. I believe it was yesterday, it was making its rounds where they're like, CBDCs give us absolute control. And they're going to love that. And that's exactly what he just said. Let's find it on Twitter. The big guy, the marshmallow from the CBDC, from the IMF. That's what he was talking about. Killis, slowly it sinks in. I seriously thought I was hearing Chinese when I first started listening to me. Oh, God bless you, Killis. You've been here a long time, and it is a little Chinesey, but that's a solid language. It's been around for thousands of years, so at some point, if I speak enough Chinese to you guys are going to start speaking Chinese. Please, everyone, give a thumbs up. 54 people in the stream, 20 likes. We can do better. 12:16 p.m. on a Friday, July 9th. I wish you all a wonderful weekend. Stop by Discord if you guys want to talk. I find that when the market is hot and there's all this crazy exuberance, you get people that just jump in Discord. They're like, oh, I'm going to find some incredible asset to buy. But that's not the way it works. The purpose of that Discord is people that are utilizing this ideology and methodology to generate revenue streams, and you bounce ideas off one another. It's a great place for rational people to interact and share ideas because it, the irrational, exuberant persons looking for the instant alpha or the dog coin or the magic unicorn coin. That's not what's in there. People are talking real rational ways to deploy capital. And I mean, literally, if you take $1,000, this is not a recommendation. You do your own due diligence, but you take $1,000, you put it into Convex, you're going to make 600 something dollars over the course of a year. I'm just saying that because it's 67% yield. You just run the math, and you got to have a little bit of a forward perspective and time horizon. Let's just start thinking about things differently and start with Aave and stable coins, please. I wish you all a wonderful weekend. It's always a pleasure to talk to everyone. I will see you on Monday.